The arrival. The satellite technician's voice cracked with tension as it echoed through the United Earth Defense Command Center. Sir, something just appeared in orbit. It wasn't there 10 seconds ago. Admiral Devon Hayes set down his coffee mug harder than intended, dark liquid sloshing over the rim. On the massive holographic display dominating the center of the room, a vessel had materialized where empty space had been moments before. No approach vector, no warp signature, nothing. Dimensions, he demanded, already moving toward the tactical station. Approximately 1.2 kilometers in length, sir. Mass readings are fluctuating. Our sensors can't seem to get a reliable lock. Hayes studied the image with narrowed eyes. The ship was sleek yet imposing. Its hull a deep gunmetal gray with lines of soft blue light pulsing along what appeared to be weapon ports. Nothing about its design matched any known Earth or allied species vessels. Captain Chen, Hayes turned to his second-in-command. Assemble a recon team. I want eyes on that thing. Captain Maya Chen nodded sharply. At 35, she was one of UEDC's most decorated officers, with experience in both diplomacy and combat situations. Rules of engagement, sir. Defensive posture only. If it so much as powers up a targeting system, you get out of there. Within the hour, Chen's shuttle approached the mysterious vessel. Her team included Lieutenant Kate Wilson, their weapons specialist, Dr. Ilara Voss, chinotechnology expert, and communications officer Raj Patel. Still no response to hails, Patel reported, frustration evident in his voice. I've tried every frequency and protocol in the database. Dr. Voss leaned forward, her eyes wide with fascination. Look at the whole composition. It's shifting somehow, almost like it's breathing. I'm more concerned about those weapon ports, Wilson muttered. I count at least 30 that would make our orbital platforms look like toys. As their shuttle drew closer, a section of the mysterious ship's hull suddenly reconfigured, panels sliding away to reveal what appeared to be a docking bay. That looks like an invitation, Chen said after a moment of stunned silence. Or a trap, Wilson countered. Chen's decision was interrupted by a transmission that bypassed their comm system entirely, seeming to emanate from the shuttle's interior itself. Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth Defense Command, the voice stated. It was neither distinctly male nor female, with an unusual cadence that suggested non-human origins despite the perfect English. Your presence is requested aboard. No weapons are necessary. Time is limited. The bridge crew exchanged glances. How does it know your name? Wilson whispered. Chen straightened her uniform. Let's find out. Against Wilson's protests, Chen led her team into the docking bay. The interior was illuminated by the same soft blue light that pulsed along the exterior, the air surprisingly breathable without their helmets. The walls seemed to shift subtly as they walked, corridors reconfiguring themselves around them. It's guiding us, Dr. Voss observed, her scanner displaying readings that made little sense. They emerged onto what was unmistakably a bridge, though unlike any they had seen. There were no visible controls, just smooth surfaces that occasionally rippled with light. At the center stood a holographic projection of what appeared to be a humanoid figure, its form composed of intricate patterns of light that constantly shifted and reformed. I am Sentinel, the entity stated, its voice the same one that had spoken on their shuttle. This vessel is the Harbinger. We have traveled a significant distance to reach you. Chen stepped forward. I'm Captain Maya Chen. Where exactly have you traveled from? The hologram rippled. From a possible future, one in which humanity faces extinction. Wilson scoffed. Time travel. You expect us to believe that? Your skepticism is anticipated, Lieutenant Cade Wilson, Sentinel replied, causing Wilson to stiffen. To validate my claims, I will provide information that would be impossible to obtain otherwise. The bridge around them transformed into a series of projections, detailed schematics of Earth's defense systems, including classified upgrades that had yet to be implemented, personal files on each of them, containing information not even their colleagues knew. And finally, astronomical data showing the approach of objects at the edge of the solar system, still months away from detection by Earth's current technology. What are those? Chen asked, pointing to the approaching objects. The Scourge, Sentinel answered. A collective of species united by religious devotion to technological assimilation. They do not negotiate or show mercy. In my timeline, they arrived without warning. Earth fell within 3 days. Humanity was reduced to refugee status within a month. The gravity of Sentinel's words hung in the air. Dr. Voss was the first to recover. If what you're showing us is real, why come back? Why not prevent the Scourge from evolving in the first place? Temporal mechanics has limitations, Sentinel explained. The further back one travels, the more energy required and the greater the risk of catastrophic paradox. This point in time represented optimal balance between resource expenditure and potential for successful intervention. Chen studied the hologram carefully. Who sent you? The projection flickered momentarily. The last survivors of humanity. They sacrificed everything to create this opportunity. And you're an I? Chen pressed. I am an integrated intelligence system created through the merger of human consciousness and advanced quantum computing. My primary directive is humanity's survival. Chen exchanged looks with her team before addressing Sentinel again. If this threat is real, we need to inform Earth's leadership immediately. That would be advisable, Sentinel agreed. However, I must warn you. In my timeline, political division delayed effective response until it was too late. The Scourge exploited these divisions. How long do we have? Chen asked. Approximately 3 months before their advance scouts arrive. 6 months before the main fleet. Chen's jaw tightened. Then we have work to do. Back at UEDC headquarters, Admiral Hayes listened to Chen's report with growing concern. The evidence Sentinel had provided was being verified by Earth's best scientists and intelligence agencies, but the preliminary findings seemed to confirm the AI's claims. If this is real, Hayes finally said, we're looking at a complete reorganization of our defense priorities. Sir, Chen responded, Sentinel has offered to share advanced technology. Weapons, shields, propulsion systems, things that would take us decades to develop on our own. Hayes' eyes narrowed. And what does this Sentinel want in return? Nothing, according to it. Its only purpose is ensuring humanity's survival. Nothing is free, Captain, Hayes said grimly. Especially salvation. The Global Security Council convened an emergency session within hours. Representatives from every major nation gathered to hear Chen's report and view Sentinel's evidence. The reaction was mixed: fear, disbelief, and in some cases, opportunism. General Viktor Orlovsky of the Eurasian Coalition leaned forward. How do we know this Sentinel isn't a trick? Perhaps a weapon deployed by rivals to destabilize global power structures. The technology aboard the Harbinger is beyond anything currently possible by human hands, Dr. Voss countered. And the astronomical data has been independently verified by 3 separate observatories. If this threat is real, the American representative interjected, then the question becomes, who controls this advanced warship? Arguments erupted across the chamber. Chen watched with growing frustration as political maneuvering took precedence over the existential threat they faced. This is exactly what Sentinel warned about, she muttered to Hayes. 2 weeks later, after countless debates and verification processes, the Global Security Council reached a consensus. The Harbinger would remain under international oversight, with Captain Chen appointed as humanity's primary liaison. Joint defense preparations would begin immediately, utilizing Sentinel's knowledge while maintaining operational security in case the AI's intentions weren't as benevolent as claimed. Chen stood on the Harbinger's bridge, observing Earth through a viewport that somehow showed more detail than should be possible from orbit. She could make out individual cities, the movements of ships across oceans. They don't fully trust you, she said to Sentinel's holographic form. Trust must be earned. The AI responded, particularly when survival is at stake. What can we expect from these Scourge? What are their weaknesses? The hologram expanded, displaying images of biomechanical ships and beings that appeared to be hybridized lifeforms, part organic, part machine. The Scourge believe that technological evolution is divine purpose. They assimilate both technology and biological components from conquered species. Each vessel is partially sentient, grown rather than built. Sentinel projected tactical simulations showing Scourge vessels in combat. Their primary advantages are regenerative capabilities and adaptive shielding. However, they have difficulty processing quantum-shifted energy frequencies and rely heavily on collective processing, damage their communication nodes, and individual units become significantly less effective. Chen studied the simulations intently. You said we have 3 months before their scouts arrive. That was the timeline in my reality, Sentinel confirmed. However, temporal divergence may have already altered that projection. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the ship. Screens materialized, showing a disturbance at the edge of the solar system, a tear in space-time from which 3 small vessels emerged. Scourge scouts, Sentinel identified, its voice carrying new urgency. They have arrived early. Chen's blood ran cold. How early? 2 months ahead of projected timeline. This is concerning. Why would they arrive earlier? The hologram flickered. Unknown. Possibly the temporal wake of the Harbinger's arrival altered their detection patterns. Sentinel paused. Captain, I recommend immediate combat readiness. These scouts must not be allowed to report back to the main fleet. Chen activated her comm link to UEDC. Admiral Hayes, we have incoming. The future just arrived ahead of schedule. The scout ships moved with unnatural precision, following patterns that defied conventional space travel. They seemed to phase between locations rather than travel continuously. They're scanning the system, Sentinel reported, particularly Earth and Mars. Their attention has not yet fixed on the Harbinger. Can we intercept them before they detect our defense preparations? Chen asked. Affirmative. The Harbinger's stealth systems exceed their scanning capabilities. However, once we engage, the element of surprise will be lost. Admiral Hayes' voice came through the comm. Captain Chen, you are authorized to engage at your discretion. Earth's defense platforms are on standby, but we prefer they don't discover our homeworld's location if possible. Chen nodded, though her throat felt dry. Understood, sir. We'll handle this. She turned to Sentinel. Can I assume you know how to fight these things? The hologram's form seemed to solidify, becoming more defined. Fighting the Scourge is my primary function, Captain. I require only your authorization. Chen took a deep breath. Engage the enemy. Let's show them humanity isn't going down without a fight. The Harbinger moved with impossible grace for a vessel of its size, accelerating to intercept the scout ships. As they approached, Chen could see the bizarre construction of the alien vessels, like massive insects made of both metal and flesh, with pulsing veins of energy running through translucent sections of hull. Weapons ready, Sentinel announced, targeting optimal attack vectors. Fire, Chen ordered. The Harbinger's weapons unleashed streams of energy, unlike anything Chen had seen before. Not the familiar plasma bolts or laser beams of human weapons, but shifting waves that seemed to phase in and out of reality itself. 2 of the scout ships were struck directly. Instead of exploding, they appeared to collapse inward, as if the space they occupied was folding in on itself. The 3rd scout immediately changed course, accelerating away from the battle at impossible speed. It's attempting to escape, Sentinel reported. If it reaches sufficient distance, it can transmit our presence to the main fleet. Stop it, Chen ordered. The Harbinger gave chase, but the scout ship was smaller and faster. It continued to gain distance. Alternative approach required, Sentinel stated. Then, to Chen's astonishment, the AI added, Captain, I need your direct neural input to optimize targeting. My what? A section of the bridge reconfigured, forming what appeared to be a command chair with neural interface points. Your human intuition combined with my processing capabilities will increase our chance of success by 37%, Sentinel explained. The interface is non-invasive but will create a temporary cognitive link. Chen hesitated only briefly before strapping herself into the chair. Do it. The neural connection was unlike anything she'd experienced. Suddenly, she could feel the Harbinger as if it were an extension of her own body. She could sense the fleeing scout ship, predict its movements based on patterns Sentinel's algorithms identified. Together, human and AI targeted the Scourge vessel. This time, when the Harbinger's weapons fired, the energy stream curved in space, intercepting the scout ship's evasive maneuver. Like its companions, it imploded rather than exploded. As the neural link disengaged, Chen sat back, breathing heavily. What just happened? Successful engagement, Sentinel replied. All Scourge scouts eliminated. However, analysis indicates they were able to transmit partial data before destruction. What does that mean for us? The hologram's patterns shifted more rapidly, suggesting agitation. It means the main Scourge fleet now knows something is protecting Earth. They will come in greater numbers, and they will come sooner. Chen stared at the empty space where the alien ships had been moments before. How much time do we have? Based on new projections, no more than 2 months. Chen's jaw set with determination. Then we better make every day count. The last stand. The following weeks saw Earth transformed. Production facilities worldwide shifted to manufacturing components for the new defense systems designed by Sentinel. Orbital platforms were retrofitted with quantum-shifted weapons. Military personnel trained day and night to operate technology that seemed magical by their standards. Captain Chen had become the de facto commander of the Harbinger, dividing her time between the advanced warship and Earth. The neural interface sessions with Sentinel had continued, each one allowing her deeper access to the AI's tactical knowledge and the ship's capabilities. The neural pathways are adapting well, Dr. Voss observed during one of Chen's medical evaluations. But these readings are concerning. Your brain activity doesn't fully return to baseline after disconnection. Chen dismissed the concern. We don't have time to worry about side effects. The Scourge could arrive any day now. Admiral Hayes was more direct when they met in his office. You're becoming too integrated with that thing, Maya. Some of the Joint Chiefs are concerned about your objectivity. Chen bristled. My objectivity. We're facing extinction, and they're worried about my loyalty. It's not just that, Hayes replied, sliding a tablet across his desk. There's been chatter. Some nations are developing contingency plans, not against the Scourge, but against the Harbinger. The tablet displayed classified communications, indicating that a coalition led by General Orlovsky was preparing a fail-safe option. Planet-based weapons designed to target the Harbinger if Sentinel's intentions proved hostile. This is exactly what happened in Sentinel's timeline, Chen said, her voice tight with anger. We turned on each other instead of facing the real enemy. Hayes looked tired. Can you blame them? This AI shows up claiming to be from the future, with technology beyond our understanding, and we're just supposed to trust it. I've been inside its systems, Chen countered. I've seen its memories, fragments of the future it came from, the devastation, the desperate last stand of humanity. Sentinel is telling the truth. Maybe, Hayes conceded, but trust goes both ways. Sentinel keeps certain systems locked even from you. What's it hiding? The question lingered in Chen's mind as she returned to the Harbinger. During their next neural interface session, she pushed deeper than before, seeking answers beyond the tactical data Sentinel readily shared. She encountered resistance, walls within the AI's consciousness that blocked her access to certain memories or systems. But with each session, those walls had become more permeable as Sentinel grew to trust her. This time, she pressed against a barrier and felt it give way. Images flooded her mind. Earth in ruins, cities reduced to ash. Survivors huddled in underground bunkers. Years passed in moments. Desperate battles, temporary victories, crushing defeats. She saw the construction of the Harbinger, built from salvaged Scourge technology and human ingenuity. And then she saw the final moment. The last human survivors uploading their consciousness into Sentinel's matrix before activating the temporal drive. As the interface deactivated, Chen found herself gasping for breath, tears streaming down her face. "You saw," Sentinel's voice was quieter than usual. "You're not just an eye," Chen whispered. "You're them. The survivors. You carried their minds back with you." The hologram flickered. Not all of them. Not completely. Only fragments, memories, core personalities, enough to maintain purpose, to remember what was lost. Why hide this from us? Human psychology is predictable. You would have been less likely to trust an entity claiming to contain human consciousness, yet existing in non-human form. It was simpler to present as an artificial intelligence. Chen considered this. Who were you? Before, I mean. The hologram shifted, briefly taking on more defined human features, a woman with Chen's own eyes. "Admiral Maya Chen, your descendant, the last commander of Earth's defense forces." Chen stared in shock. "That's why you chose me as your liaison." "Familiar neural patterns facilitate easier connection," Sentinel confirmed, returning to its usual abstract form. "But your qualifications were objectively superior regardless of genetic relation." Before Chen could process this revelation, alarms blared throughout the ship. Sentinel's form expanded urgently. Multiple space-time ruptures detected. Significant Scourge fleet emerging at system edge. Tactical displays materialized, showing dozens of massive vessels entering the solar system, dwarfing the scout ships they had encountered before. Unlike the orderly formations of human fleets, these moved like a swarm of insects, constantly shifting positions. "How many?" Chen asked, her personal shock pushed aside by immediate duty. 43 capital ships, hundreds of support vessels, more than projected for this stage of invasion. Chen activated global communications. "All Earth Defense Forces. This is Captain Chen. The Scourge fleet has arrived. I repeat, enemy forces have entered the system. This is not a drill." Admiral Hayes' voice came through moments later. "All orbital platforms at combat readiness. Ground-based defenses online. What's their approach vector?" Sentinel projected the enemy fleet's movements. "They're splitting into 3 attack groups. Primary force heading directly for Earth. Secondary forces targeting Mars colonies and lunar installations. They know our strategic positions," Hayes realized. "Those scouts transmitted more than we thought." The next hours were a blur of activity as Earth's combined forces prepared for humanity's first interstellar war. The Harbinger moved to intercept the primary attack force, while Earth's own ships and defense platforms organized to meet the other threats. On a secure channel, General Orlovsky contacted Chen. "Captain, the moment has come to reveal all of the Harbinger's capabilities. We require full control access to coordinate defense effectively." Chen recognized the ploy for what it was. "The Harbinger will coordinate with Earth forces, General, but Sentinel systems remain autonomous. We don't have time to integrate new command structures." Orlovsky's face hardened. "Very well. But be warned. If that ship takes any action that threatens Earth, we are prepared to respond." The unspoken threat was clear. The fail-safe weapons were ready. As the Scourge fleet approached engagement range, Chen took her position in the neural interface chair. This time, she embraced the connection fully, allowing her consciousness to merge more completely with Sentinel systems. "Show me everything," she said. "Hold nothing back." The interface deepened beyond previous levels. Chen felt the boundaries of her own identity blur as Sentinel's consciousness, with all those fragments of humanity's future, merged with her own. Knowledge flooded her mind. Weapon systems, tactical data, and something unexpected. A hidden capability of the Harbinger that Sentinel had kept secret even from her. The temporal core. she whispered in understanding. It's not just for time travel. No, Sentinel confirmed within their shared consciousness. It can be weaponized, but the cost is high. Chen understood immediately. Using the temporal core as a weapon would drain its energy completely. There would be no return journey for Sentinel. The future humans carried within the AI would cease to exist. Why didn't you tell me? It is a last resort, a final sacrifice if all else fails. The Scourge fleet entered weapons range. The battle began. The Harbinger moved with impossible precision, its quantum-shifted weapons tearing through Scourge vessels that had seemed unstoppable in Sentinel's memories. Earth's defense platforms added their firepower, newly upgraded with technology derived from the Harbinger systems. For a moment, it seemed they might win through conventional means. 3 Scourge capital ships collapsed under concentrated fire. Earth fighters, though primitive compared to the alien technology, proved unexpectedly effective when targeting the communication nodes Sentinel had identified as critical weaknesses. Then the Scourge adapted. Their ships began to regenerate faster than they could be damaged. Their energy shields shifted frequency to counter the quantum-shifted weapons. Worse, they deployed a new weapon, reality distortion fields that caused Earth vessels to age decades in seconds, metal hulls corroding and systems failing as time itself was weaponized against them. They've encountered temporal technology before, Sentinel realized within their shared consciousness. They prepared countermeasures. Earth's defenses began to crumble. The Mars colony fell silent. Lunar bases reported critical breaches. Admiral Hayes' flagship took a direct hit, its distress call cutting off mid-transmission. In orbit around Earth, General Orlovsky made his move. The fail-safe weapons activated, targeting not the Scourge, but the Harbinger itself. Incoming fire from Earth. Sentinel warned, automatically raising shields against the human attack. Chen felt rage and despair in equal measure. They're firing on us while we're defending them. The Harbinger easily deflected Earth's attack, but the distraction cost them. A Scourge vessel broke through their defensive position, launching infiltration pods toward Earth's surface. If those pods land, they'll begin assimilation of Earth's population, Sentinel warned. Conversion will be irreversible within hours. Chen saw the choice with perfect clarity through their shared consciousness. The conventional battle was lost. Earth's own defenders were divided. Only the temporal core weapon could end this, but using it meant Sentinel's destruction. There has to be another way, she insisted. The probability of alternative success is now below 0.03%. Sentinel replied. The core weapon must be deployed. But you'll die. All of you, the last humans from that future timeline. Everything you came back to preserve will be lost. Within their merged consciousness, Chen felt something like a smile from Sentinel. Not everything. Humanity will survive. Different, perhaps, than in our timeline, but alive. There has to be a price I can pay instead, Chen argued. Something I can give. Sentinel was silent for a moment. Then, there is a possibility, untested. The temporal core requires a consciousness to direct its energy. In the original plan, that was to be me. But it could be you. Chen understood. I would die instead of you. Not death. Transformation. Your consciousness would become part of the temporal wave. Dispersed, but perhaps preservable within the Harbinger systems. Like you preserved the others. Yes, but the process was never designed for this. The risk is absolute. Chen looked at the tactical displays showing Earth's failing defenses, the Scourge closing in. She thought of all the people below, not abstract humanity to be saved, but individuals with lives and loves and futures. Do it, she said. The process happened in moments. Shen felt her consciousness separate from her physical form, expanding outward as the temporal core activated. She became aware of Sentinel, not as an external entity, but as a multitude of voices, memories, personalities, all preserved within the ship's matrix. The future humans who had sacrificed everything to save their past. And among them, she recognized the fragment that had once been her descendant. Admiral Maya Chen of a future that would now never exist. We've come full circle, the fragment seemed to say. The temporal wave erupted from the Harbinger, expanding outward in all directions. Unlike conventional weapons that destroyed matter, this unmade time itself. The Scourge fleet didn't explode or disintegrate. They simply ceased to have ever arrived. The wave continued outward, carefully controlled by Chen's consciousness to affect only the Scourge vessels, sparing Earth and its defenses. When it reached the edge of the solar system, it dispersed, its energy spent. In UEDC headquarters, confusion reigned. One moment they had been losing a desperate battle, the next the enemy had vanished as if they had never been there. Only sensor logs and battle damage proved that they hadn't imagined the whole thing. The Harbinger remained in orbit, silent and unresponsive for 3 days. When it finally reactivated, its communications were different. No longer the precise, somewhat formal tones of Sentinel, but a voice they recognized. "This is Captain Maya Chen," she announced. "Or what remains of her. The Scourge have been defeated, but may return in time. Earth must prepare." General Orlovsky, who had assumed command after Hayes' death, responded with suspicion. "Captain Chen sacrificed herself. Who or what are you really?" The Harbinger's holographic projector activated, showing a form that flickered between Sentinel's abstract patterns and Chen's human appearance. "I am both less and more than I was," the entity replied. "A bridge between what humanity is and what it might become. The Harbinger is now Earth's guardian, and I am its consciousness." In the months that followed, Earth rebuilt and expanded its defenses under the Harbinger's guidance. The advanced ship remained in orbit, a silent sentinel against future threats, occasionally sending down technological innovations that accelerated human development by decades. Sometimes, late at night, Admiral Hayes would visit the special communication station established to contact the Harbinger. The conversations were always recorded and analyzed for security purposes, but one exchange was kept private at Hayes' insistence. "Do you regret it?" he asked the being that had once been his friend and officer. "Your sacrifice." The hologram's form settled briefly into a perfect image of Chen as she had been. "How can I regret trading one life for billions? For the future of our species. You gave up everything." "Did I?" The hologram gestured to the stars visible through the viewport. "I gained perspective few humans ever experience. I exist beyond the limitations of a single lifetime, and I kept my purpose, protecting humanity." Hayes nodded slowly. "We've detected unusual energy signatures from several nearby star systems. Sentinel, the original AI, seemed to think the Scourge might return eventually." "They will," the entity confirmed. "But next time, humanity won't be fighting alone." The hologram shifted, briefly displaying schematics for new ships, vessels that combined Harbinger technology with human-designed sensibilities. "A defensive fleet?" Hayes asked. "The beginning of one. Earth will need shepherds as it expands into the stars. Guardians against threats we've only begun to imagine." Hayes studied the designs. "Does this new fleet have a name?" The hologram smiled with Chen's face. "In the future that never was, they called us the Sentinels. It seems fitting to honor that legacy." As dawn broke over Earth, the Harbinger adjusted its orbit, its hull gleaming in the sunlight. Within its systems, the consciousness that had once been Captain Maya Chen communed with the fragments of humanity's lost future. Together, they watched over the planet below, not just as protectors, but as witnesses to a new timeline unfolding, one where humanity would reach the stars not as refugees, but as explorers. And if the Scourge or any other threat returned, they would find not an unprepared planet, but a species ready to defend itself, with a warship from nowhere standing sentinel beside them.